Hey there, you are listening to the Intentional Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren McLoughlin, and this podcast is designed to help online experts who are moms, coaches, course creators, and online educators really run their business intentionally so that they can serve their clients and create the impact that they want while still growing their business all in 20 hours a week. So this is welcome to, and this is episode 1, full-time impact in part-time hours. And the goal of this podcast is to answer the question, how can we balance serving our clients and growing our business in 20 hours a week? So this is what I'm going to be diving into today. And especially, I'm going to be talking to you about the intention behind the Intentional Entrepreneur Podcast, what my goal is for this podcast and for you as the listener. So welcome. How are you? It's really great to have you here. And what I want to kind of start with is to see if any of these really resonate with you. So some of the things that I've heard from my clients and from other entrepreneurs is that maybe you might resonate with this, is that you might want to grow your business, but maybe you have so many tasks that really just get in the way that you don't feel like you actually have the time to do the fun things or the creative things or the things that are going to allow you to grow in the way that you want to. Or maybe you feel like, you spend so much time pouring into your clients that it feels hard to actually get to the marketing side of things. Or maybe it's just something as simple as like emails. Like emails are stressing you out. They take up a ton of your time and you always feel like they're looming over you in the evening. Or maybe you just really want to be able to be present with your own kids and present with your clients. And it feels like the lines are blurring between your business and your personal life. And you're starting to maybe feel guilty about your kids. And the reason I share all of this is because I absolutely get it. I have been there in every single one of those situations. And I don't know about you, but I remember I launched my business in 2018. And so back in 2019, I'd been running my business for a little over a year, and I just launched my first membership a couple months prior to this. And I remember I had a gray IKEA couch at the time. I remember sitting in my living room and I could see I had a black Bernese Mountain Dog. At the time, she's passed since, but anyway, so I remember seeing my black Bernese Mountain Dog lying in the corner. As per usual, her fur was all over my carpet. I don't know if you can relate to that if you have a dog. And I could hear my toddler. I have 2 boys who are now 6 and almost 3, but I could hear my then toddler chatting away in the other room with his little sing-song voice with my husband. And I remember just pulling my computer onto my lap to get some work done. But as soon as I opened it, I just had this overwhelming need. I just ran to the bathroom and needed to throw up. And as you may have guessed, I was pregnant again at the time of this story, but that wasn't actually the first time that I had been throwing up when I started opening up my computer, because I had been throwing up regularly even before getting pregnant for the second time. And it really took me a while to even realize what the cause of it was. Like I ended up landing myself in the ER before I even figured it out. And what the actual cause was is that there was nothing physically wrong with my body, but I had been putting myself under so much stress and anxiety running my business and trying to be a good mom that my body was physically revolting. Like I wasn't aligned, and I had an issue, and my body was really fighting me every step of the way. And I had just at the time, so I had launched my membership. I had 35 members. I was running a teaching resources membership. I was a mom, and I really just felt like I was running myself into the ground, or that's looking back, what I was doing. I didn't even realize. It just felt like the only way I could possibly get everything done at the time. I was either parenting or working on my business. I did manage to exercise, so I had a little bit of time there, but I honestly just had zero downtime. And I remember feeling, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but I remember just feeling super just like guilty that I wasn't around my son enough. And then I felt like when I was with him, I was worried that hadn't done enough for my business. So I was always feeling torn between the two worlds. And really, I just remember feeling so afraid that I wouldn't actually be able to create the content for my monthly membership and continue to actually grow it like I said I was going to. And I didn't know how I could really balance both. And I was honestly so afraid that I was going to let people down. And when I did sit down, like when I actually had a few hours to work when I wasn't taking care of my son, I really felt distracted and unsure about what I should actually be doing in the hours I did have to work on my business. And I really wanted to grow it. I just didn't know how I could possibly do anything more than I was already doing. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to get through all the tasks that I had to do in the hours that I had to do, like that I had to work. So I ended up working a lot in the evenings. And that was part of the rundown and the stress that I was feeling that was causing me to feel so sick. But I knew that I really did not want to live this way. I wanted to be able to trust myself so that I knew what I needed to be doing so that I could work within the 20 hours a week that I wanted to be working so that I could be present for my kids. Because newsflash, that's part of the reason I even created my business in the first place, was so that I had more flexibility to actually be with my kids. And I wanted to keep growing my business to serve the community I created, to make a difference, to be a present mom for my son and my growing family. But I just didn't know how to make it all work. And when I got pregnant, I just got sicker and sicker and sicker. And this will be a podcast later on as we go. But as my progesterone levels rose, I realized later my hormone level rose, my stress just increased and increased and increased. And I really had to take a hard look at how I was running my life. My body was just continuing to revolt and it wasn't allowing me to continue. And even though it was awful at the time, it was actually the greatest gift was getting pregnant and really being pushed over the edge because I don't know if you ever had that burn it all down feeling, but I really needed to relook at things. So I went on mat leave. I had my second baby. And when I came back, I decided that I really wanted to run my business differently. I had two kids and I was determined to let go of my stress and really create a life that supported us, that felt doable, that felt that I had the time to devote to my kids and devote to my business rather than feeling like I was running to keep up with all my responsibilities. And so once I made that decision, I remember one day driving home from daycare and having a brief moment of quiet, thinking about my next steps. And all of a sudden, it hit me. Now, before in my previous life, I was a teacher and I did a great deal of planning for to be able to plan and make sure that I was actually hitting the curriculum and supporting my students. I taught high school to make sure that I taught them what they needed to learn. And I wasn't applying the same strategies in my business. Yes, I was planning out lunches and I was creating to-do lists and things like that, but I wasn't being intentional about how I was spending my time and how I was spending my energy and listening to my body. So I realized that maybe I needed to actually look at how I was running my business and take the same strategies that I was using as a teacher and apply them into my business. And that made all the difference. That's really when I got obsessed with planning out my week. And I tell you, when you can plan out your week, you can save hours of wasted time when you can plan out your week. I started planning around my energy level, my cycle, my having plans for what I wanted to create in my business. And as I got more and more intentional with my planning and really trusting that I knew what I needed for my business, I was able to make more in 1 month than I had made in all of 2020, and I continued to work only 15 to 20 hours a week. I have since surpassed, and I've always been able to stick within that 20-hour work week and continue to grow my business. I've been able to work with clients, market my business, have that CEO time, that planning time, and really feel good all within those 20 hours a week. And here is what I've really realized, and what I would love for you to glean from this chat today, is that intentional plan. So having an intentional plan for your time, for your energy, for your priorities, it's really the most effective way to work 20 hours a week and still grow your business. You can work 20 hours a week, but you need to be really intentional about how you're spending that time. If you are just following the marketing strategies and the growth strategies, and maybe even the mindset strategies, yes, those are all important. But if you can't find the time to go to the course that to do the course that you've signed up for, or to go to the coaching call that you've signed up for, or to actually go out and be on podcasts like this one, or market your business, how will those strategies that you're learning, how will they help you if you can't actually do them? So this is about how you can take action on them, make a plan so that you know that you have the time for the things that matter most. So you have the direction that you need. So you have a plan. So you feel really good that you know you're doing the right things in the time that you have to work, rather than feeling like you always have to catch up, maybe even after your kids go to bed. So that's what this podcast is about. This podcast is going to give you different strategies and tips and ideas. We're going to have interview guests. There'll be some solo episodes, and we'll be talking all about how you can make your expert business, how you can grow your expert business, especially if you're a mom, how you can grow that online business so that you can work when you want to work, and you can actually be present when you're with your kids when you want to be. So if you resonate with this, that's what this podcast is going to be about. And before we close out, I wanted to finish off with a couple of questions for you to start to reflect on that are going to support you to make better use of your time, so you feel good that you know what you're going to be doing next in your business. And then we'll finish out with how you can connect with me. So here are a few questions. So you can pause the podcast if you want. If you're listening while you're walking or doing some dishes, pause the podcast, reflect. And if you are a journal type, you can absolutely journal on them. So the first question that I have for you is, where are you on the spectrum of freedom to structure? Because sometimes people say, oh, like planning doesn't work for me because I like to have a lot of freedom and I like to do what I want to do in the day. And then other people really like to have a very structured, this is what I do at 9, this is what I do at 10, this is what I do at 11. Neither one are wrong or right. It's about knowing what your style is so that you can find a system to plan out your time in a way that's going to work for you. So where are you on the spectrum? Do you tend towards freedom? Do you tend towards structure? For me, I like to have freedom within structure. So I create a bit of structure, and then I have a lot of freedom and creativity within it. And then the second question for you is, does it feel possible for you to plan your time and your next business project? Or does it feel like I try to plan and something comes up? Or do you think, oh, I've honestly never tried to plan my time. That sounds hard. I just use a to-do list. Where are you at with that? Does it feel possible for you to do that? Or does it feel like I've tried and it's never worked before? I've never thought about it. Just kind of reflect and think about where are you at with those two questions? Because those are two questions that we're going to be coming back to support you, to help you create a plan for your time so you can feel really good about the hours that you do work. So today in this conversation, my intention was to let you know a little bit about my journey, to let you know a little bit about where I started, and really to create and initiate a conversation with you so that you can feel inspired at the end of this podcast to know that it's possible to have the hours that you want, so you can feel good with your kids, you can feel good in your work life. And it's also so that I can start a conversation with you. So you feel good about your business. You feel like you've got some ideas to not only grow your business, but actually make it doable. And also for us to really have a conversation. So here's what I would love to do. I would love to connect with you. Follow me at I am Lauren Monique, Lauren Monique, Monique on Instagram. And I would love for you to follow me. I'd love to start a conversation with you. So send me a DM. Let me know what you thought about the podcast, how it went for you. If you had any ahas, I would love to hear them. And I look forward to chatting with you in the next podcast episode. Have a great day and talk to you soon.